A lot of Cubans come for me because I do hold Cubans accountable. The ones that want to be white and assimilate and don't want to be with us in the times of struggle, but want to be with us in the times of benefit. And I think it's important for us to hold everybody accountable. But I do want to say that I'm not in favor of what is happening in Cuba, and especially to the people. I have an aunt and a family in Cuba who are struggling because of the government and the situation in Cuba. And I wanted to make sure that we're very clear about where we stand, because they hijacked our movement so much when we talk about healthcare and when we talk about law enforcement. And they don't realize that when they lock those mailboxes or they drop those fake police off in Portland, that looks more like Cuba and Venezuela than what we're speaking of. I wanted to ask your thoughts about what you thought was happening in Cuba and how you feel about people constantly hijacking your movement and saying that we're trying to make America communist.
Oh man, I don't know which one to tackle first. So one of the biggest things that stands out, there are several protests that are happening all across the country, and if not for independent media, we wouldn't know about any of them. Right? Mainstream media really is not in the business of covering protests, especially protests that would be an indirect or direct challenge to our system here. In terms of this language about communism and, they're hijacking it's scaremongering, right? It's fear mongering in its finest form. Nobody really expects America to ever become a communist nation anytime in our lifetime, but that doesn't mean that we can't get Medicare for all. Right. That doesn't mean that we can't get some student loan cancellation. Right. We've been pimped and hustled in this country. We've been exploited so long in this country for every dime that we have, that the idea that we would not be charged obscene profits because we are fighting cancer or lupus or diabetes. It's just completely obscene that we allow profit shares to be cut off of people who are dying of cancer and fighting cancer. And so to me, it's like, if you really want to talk about communism versus whatever else, look at just the absurdity of what we do in this country. Look at the absurdity of what we do and tell me that we can't do better. And if doing better means that that's communism to you, then we really need to understand how deep the fascism really it goes in your blood.
Yeah, the other thing that I wanted to make sure that we have to say it over and over again, because we don't realize how inadequate our education system is in this country. Absolutely. And that's one of the things that we fight for, right? Because we become in debt for a lot of Americans are in debt for receiving these mediocre educations that have been, they've been pimped into believing it's going to change their quality of life, and all it does worsens it, right?
Right.
So we talk about it, but when we talk about socialism, which is very alive in America, but it doesn't benefit the average man, I think it's so interesting how this last presidency, this Donald Trump era, really, really preyed on people who lack education and don't have access to information.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to the Idiocracy movie and the trend of America moving towards this know-nothing era, right? We're moving towards the era of excitedly reveling in ignorance, right? The rejection of science, the rejection of truth. The sky is green and the grass is blue. That's where we are in America. So it makes it that much easier for someone like Donald Trump to come in as a strong man, because we have seen the dumbing down of our country over the last, generations, probably.
Yeah. If Kurt Vonnegut wrote Hocus Pocus, you read about 1984, Idiocracy is 20 years old. People saw it coming. The people saw the writers, the philosophers, they saw it coming. And I don't think people really understand it. Everybody has a microphone now. And so people like you and I become the enemy of the people when we're actually trying to fight the people, because unfortunately, if you are so busy working, my example is always a towel mill or a factory, you don't have time to
Right.
read what's happening.
Right. No, absolutely. That's the other side of it, right? So you have those people who actively reject science because they need to reject the truth in order to maintain their worldview. Because the reason they have to reject the truth is because if that truth ever gets into them, they would realize that their worldview is bullshit, right? So they actively reject it. But then you do have that other group of people, Ida, that you're mentioning that are so locked in to just trying to survive. They literally do not have the time to go out there and learn every single policy to be active to do it. You know, it is capitalism. Capitalism is like racism in the same way that Toni Morrison said the purpose of racism is to occupy your time, to waste your time. Capitalism doesn't only exploit you, but it occupies your time and it keeps you from having the time to actually rebel against it.